triggers the ultimate ace match.
Versus Team Liquid. Game 6.
Clem moved rooms. Clem is in the O Gaming Studios. Did he actually move rooms? Did he have to move onto the table to play his match, maybe? Maybe that's why they needed the 5-minute break. Maybe they moved Clem into the main stage to play this game. Alright, let's see what happens. As we have got in the bottom left, RagnaroK from AlphaX. In the top right, the red Terran player is Team Liquid's Clem. Is it an ultimate ace match because another player can be tapped in versus just a best of 3? Neither of these players can play the ace match. They've already been revived. You can't use them again. O Gaming have a bet on their channel for Clem versus AlphaX. I love it. Alright, guys. Yeah, it does look like Clem moved over to a stage or so. He's got a different chair and everything for sure, so... Alright. Let's see what happens as we get Hatch Gas and Spawn and Pool ready to start up. So Pool comes down. Big match, of course. First map is super important because the second map, while the loser gets to pick the map, it's obviously going to be do or die at that stage. Then you got to be really careful. Again, a 2-0 sends one of these teams to the top 4, and they're going to play against Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Well, that comes up straight after this, pretty much. We are in for a hell of a day of StarCraft 2 at the moment. I see a lot of people thinking Hearthstone would come out for that final map of the Ace match. Do you guys think we even get there? RagnaroK looked... Oh, God, I unmuted too soon. What did I do that for? RagnaroK looked good against Clem on Hardwire. I think this map's really important because, like I say, just getting that pressure off you more than anything else might be the biggest part. You guys think Thermal for the Ace match? Yeah, also possible. I don't honestly like Liquid can set out anyone. I think it'd be cool. It's gonna be a versus a Protoss, right? I think Thermal's good again in TVP. Has some weird builds and stuff. Yeah, man. It's it's kind of a wild one to call. It's a wild situation we find ourselves in here in the World Team League playoffs. What a match it's been between Liquid and AlphaX, two teams that have continually gone toe-to-toe in the league. And of course, AlphaX had that second place finish this time last year in what was then the Gold Series Team Championship, now the WTL. They went all the way to the final map, all the way, and it was a huge shock when Time got sent out as the ace player against Zaun for KaiZ Gaming back then. Instead of Innovation, Innovation said, you know what, I don't fancy playing TVP. Time you go, and it was a crazy game. It was a crazy game. Clem's going to pause. I was going to say, it's one of those situations which is, I feel like... Link speed coming up. Let's reset ourselves into this game. Just a reminder then as we come back in. The situation is if you go 2-0, you win the series for your team, and you move on to play Dragon Phoenix Gaming. If you are going to go 1-1, if you go 1-1, then you end up in a situation where both teams must play one more player in the ultimate best-of-1 ace match. Raven coming up, a couple of queens on the way through, and Clem does like this Raven build on 2k atmospheres. It's probably the map he uses it on the most. Get aggressive with the Raven, you can obviously go for some damage further down the line, etc. You can obviously clean up creep, harass those queens, and like I say, some damage, some mineral line auto turrets can be very annoying to deal with as well. So a few factors, a few different things that can happen. to drop this barracks down. Raven's going to be finishing. He does start that cloak to try and fake out that this is a Banshee. So wants to try and sell this as being something it is not to RagnaroK. He's going to cancel cloak, start up stim. Need 2 additional barracks on the way up. Now the reactor down on the starport, and just going to see the extra barracks continuing on through. Continue to bring this up and running. You can switch PCs and stay in the game. I assume they probably recovered the game. Right? I assume they just recovered it from replay. They just rehosted. Would be my guess. Because Clem definitely just changed PCs and moved. So, yes, I would imagine Clem just had to recover the game there. As you do see these Hellions picking away at a whole chunk of these Zerglings. Now a few drones as well. RagnaroK is going to lose 5 workers right away. Oh, that's pretty substantial. A few workers going down. It doesn't even cost Clem any Hellions, right? I think that's the most important thing. It's not like this was a full-on dive where these Hellions are giving themselves up to kill a few workers. They are still alive. They're still going to provide map control, and they are still going to be giving Clem a good opportunity. So, they're going to give Clem a good chance right now as we see the couple of Evo chambers going down on the natural, and the 1-1 upgrades working away from Clem on those engineering bays. Spire coming up, the Baneling speed coming through, the extra lings and a couple of evolution chambers continue in as well. Hellions are going to go driving by. There's not a lot of lings here, guys. We saw this in one of the previous games as well, that RagnaroK just didn't quite have the units that he needed to clean up, and these Hellions were surviving on super low HP. Well, it's kind of the same story here. A lot of low HP Hellions. They're not going to get any drones, though, are they? The reinforcing lings are going to show up, and they are going to clean up all of these Hellions. Well, you get 12 Hellions cleaned out, 40 lings, and you killed 7 drones. I mean, the lings are expensive, but it does take away Clem's map control. There's a Raven that's still chilling on the bottom side of the map, sitting behind the 4th base. We'll wait for a little while to reveal itself, but with a Spire on the way out, we will have Mutalisks sooner rather than later. Obviously, the sooner the Mutas pop out, they can pop out and they can go clean that Raven up. And, oh, he let an Evo Chamber finish in that mineral line, so that's a little bit annoying for sure. It's definitely a little bit frustrating as we're just going to be seeing our lings passing by off the watchtower. These Marines and the Medevac still making their way all the way down to the south. Going to try and get themselves involved over there. A lot of turrets go down to actually boost this fight a little bit onto this hatchery. We're just going to get rid of a couple of drones. We're just going to work our way on this hatch a little bit longer here. Queen's continuing to fight. Marines will load back into the Medevacs, and that is going to be it for the moment. So that is that, and now you resume. That's going to be seen. That Evo Chamber's still up, by the way, and just being a little bit of an annoyance as the lings will wrap around, clear out the rocks, obviously open up the map a little bit more. The more you can do that, the better it's going to be for you. There's a couple extra Widow Mines coming in, and just going to be seeing our Marines and Medevacs coming back toward the frontier. Strong Claws will be coming up. The Combat Shield will be finishing soon. Just going to be seeing these Marines moving around towards the upper left-hand side. Going to go sit out on the watchtower. He's still hanging out on the far left, and they're just going to come around, obviously, with this Muta force. It's going to be that Muta-Bling Bane army. It was on Hardwire that RagnaroK played Muta-Bling Bane as well, and he was obviously able to get a lot of momentum going for himself early. And he just never stopped playing Muta-Bling Bane, so he kept doing the same thing, basically. And just running units at Clem, continuing to push him around and force him to have a bad time. As these Mutas are going to be taking a little bit of damage, some damage out into the factory. The Marines continue through. On the top side, going to get rid of another Zergling as well there, so doing decently with that. And the Mutas back down to the south. One more Muta's about to finish up. 20 more lings, 30 more lings actually about to be completing. And the +1 flyer attack is going to be done soon as well, as a couple of melee upgrades continuing through. The Thor is on the way in. And yeah, just our Mutas back around into the center. Trying to see what else they can grab at the moment. Both players are going to be maxing out here shortly. 2,000 atmospheres is what I would call a fair map on either side when it comes to the distance between the bases. It's not super crazy. It's not super difficult for the Terran to break into bases, but it's not impossible for the Zerg to stop those Terran pushes, right? This isn't really a map that leans one way or the other when it comes to the racial balance. You know, like a Hardwire or Curious Minds does lean towards the Zerg or the Terran respectively. These Marines will press on forward, and the Mutas actually took a lot of shots there. There's a lot of Lings that are coming through. The tank in the front not siege just yet. Clem quite far back with a lot of his units, but the Widow Mine started to do some damage. Now we're off creep. These Banelings will start to melt. They'll go down very quickly. Reasonable fight from RagnaroK. As the Ling Bane Muta comes back down the bottom left side, extra Banelings will start to morph in. The Banes may be wanting to roll back up to the top side here. These Marines still pressing forward. A couple changelings being taken down. Oh, Mutas trying to pick off reinforcements, but they missed a couple there. Now Clem knows these Mutas are across the map. He'll kill the Sensor Tower. It's an expensive, easy pickoff. Not cheap pickoff, but an expensive pickoff that goes down quickly. And obviously removes the information for Clem a little bit as to what's happening elsewhere on the map. He's building a 5th command center as well, by the way. RagnaroK is still pretty eager to just maintain Lingbane Muta. He now starts the Hive, but will be on Lingbane Muta for a while, so that means there's no reason for Clem to take up massive counterattack. First time we're really seeing RagnaroK going for some run-bys. For some action. Widowmine over there might actually be the saving grace for Clem if he gets it burrowed up. He has got Lings heading toward his 3rd base as well. We'll pull those away. Only 2 SCVs lost so far, maybe a few units. With that amount of units across the map, obviously we are going to start seeing Clem just continuing this push. Kills off that base down on the bottom side. The Lings, are they killing that Thor? Yes, that Thor does go down, but that is otherwise on the picture-in-picture. A cleanup from Clem, losing only 6 SCVs. Widowmine gets a chunk of Banelings over here as Clem keeps up the pressure. And this action continues as these Banes continue to roll forward. These Marines need to stem backwards here. Widowmine shot hits an Overseer. And he gets rid of most of the Banes, but there's enough Mutas and there's more Banelings behind it as well. So Clem now has to run away and back the hell up. Well, Clem obviously has not had reinforcements for a little bit because they're being slowed down. There is a Widowmine here. Where's that going to go off? Oh, it just hits the edge of these Banelings. Next Widowmine hits a couple as well. As Clem trying to defend, he's getting the Marauders in the front, really relying on these Widowmine shots to help him out big time. He gets another one off on a few Lings. There's one Baneling left. He does get rid of it as Clem needs to survive this right now. For the moment, he is doing just that. Banes continue through. Widowmine shots again going off on just a few of the Lings. The Banelings get hit, and that's going to help Clem stabilize a little bit as well. As obviously he's continuing to get these reinforcements out. RagnaroK behind this is set up bases. The top left corner, the bottom right corner. Both of those bases coming online, that's going to be a big deal. That's going to make a hell of a difference right now. It's just going to be seeing the Adrenal Glands, the 3-3 melee upgrades, all of this continuing through, the extra Lings all continuing up. And those meters are going to go diving in toward a building planetary. On that top side, bio back around the top as well. And yeah, +3 attack on the way in, on the NG Bay also. So all of this still coming through. Those extra Banes from the right side going to be ready for a run by, as the game does take a moment to not be in-your-face aggression. It's going to be a chance for Clem to maybe get maxed out again and start up some of his own pressure. The issue still will be for RagnaroK the fact that he's playing, you know, Lingbane Muta, right? I mean, Uldric Haven on the way, so he's teching up, but he's hard committing to Lingbane Muta, which means that over time, Clem should continue to take some very good fights and should be able to just keep himself in a very good position in general. It's not like this army's ever getting, like, super loads better on Clem's side. Turrets, depots, and a handful of SCVs go down to those Banelings. That's something Clem will obviously need to look to replace. So you'll see the bio stemming here. That's a lot of Lings that just kind of wander through. Trying to defend the Mutas on the right side as well. With a higher Muta count comes the responsibility of dealing with those Mutalisks and having to do something about this and making sure they don't get out of control. That involves leaving some units behind at times, zoning those Mutas out, but also knowing when the Mutas are pulling back for the larger fight and getting as many units as possible involved in that larger fight. Is off creep here. Clem is probably happy to take an engagement. What is that? Widowmine off to the top side, hitting Clem's army. As Hero Zergling there trailing that Widowmine forward. A lot of these Widowmines actually trailing toward the Terran units more than the larger clumps of Zergs, so some Widowmines this time that go a little bit more in RagnaroK's favor. Not like super crazy, like friendly fire good, but definitely an aid as Clem pulls his Marines back, leaves the Marauders to do damage. That Widowmine is much better into the heart of the Banelings, and will actually do some real damage there to slow RagnaroK down, and that helps a lot. Widowmine goes off, and the Mutalisks are going to take a hit. Just going to see the rest of the Bioforce pulling back. Another Widowmine shot going in on the Lingbane, and the Lingbane continues through now as well, so still playing for that. Top left is going to have a little bit of a scan coming down. The bottom right, we're going to scan around a little bit as well. So just getting this up and running. Just trying to figure out, Clem, what the situation is in terms of economy. Where does my opponent have bases? Where do I need to shut down? Just how much money does he have as well? We're going to see the upgrade right now is the anabolic synthesis. That's the ultra speed upgrade. Increases ultra speed off creep. So we are really kind of taking a commitment through to the ultras at the moment. Top left base will fall. It's going to be difficult to keep alive. Clem obviously wants to keep this base alive as SCVs are stuck in a corner trying to repair the missile turret to help against the Mutas. 21 SCVs die. Oh dear. Clem takes a big hit to his eco now. It does cost a little bit of army from RagnaroK, so Clem's going to have the larger army for a little bit. These Mutas are getting a little bit out of hand. Widow Mines with drilling claws coming through. No Overseer there, so can't reliably dive onto those Widow Mines. Both those depots will be taking some damage and just going to be seeing the Mutas going back in. Widow Mine connects for the Mutalisks. Big connection right there. It's going to be seen still an army out to the far left-hand side as well. Clem pulling up to the upper left. As Banes continue to roll through. Widow Mine shots continuing, and just going to be seeing the Marines continue to kite backwards to the top side of the map. So away they go. Another Widow Mine shot doing decently. I mean, really still leaning on the Widow Mines heavily. Of course, you will be, given the composition that RagnaroK is playing with this Mutaling Bane style. Almost a couple of Banes get, Widow Mines get blown up. They burrow together. Clem has been pretty good at just burrowing the Widow Mines one at a time so far, but that one wasn't quite it. He is going to lose this base, but as you lose this base, he's killed a lot of the army of RagnaroK. I mean, this is a lot of Banelings that committed in, so RagnaroK is rebuilding, but these are expensive trades. Obviously, the question is, do you have the economy to keep it up? RagnaroK's going to lose a base here. Clem's immediate counterattack is looking very strong. RagnaroK doesn't actually have the Banelings that he needs at the moment. Fire's still moving down there. Lingbane's still setting up. Orbital on the right side is going to be coming online. You can see the income advantage growing more and more into RagnaroK's favor, so it does look pretty good for him in that regard. Turret shoots out the Mutalisks and just going to be seeing the Bioforce back off to the right-hand side now, looking to make something more of a play. Widow Mine's going to burrow up. The Mutas really do want to go for this orbital command. Clem is still just holding on in this. Again, RagnaroK just refuses to go late game. What that means is if that Clem can just hold on, stabilize, typically he's still okay. You know, if RagnaroK was suddenly coming out with 10 lurkers, Clem is dead. He can't afford to tech up or anything. But RagnaroK has got so much of this pressure ongoing because he's continuing to build a mid-game, lower, kind of mid-tier army, right? You talk about this kind of, you know, Lingbane Muta style. Yeah, a couple ultras introduced. Uh-oh, this is going to be awkward because now Clem just doesn't believe he has this fight. He's got to go running, leaves a few units behind to try and fight. This is just not where he wants to be at all. He just caught a little bit too far forward there. He's going to split units on the right side, let the Marauders put in some work. These ultras, there's not a lot killing them at the moment. Oh, that Widow Mine shot, though, hits a lot of the Banes. The Banes will try and clean up every Widow Mine there to stop them from coming back online and going a second time. And they will do so. Clem is going to fall back and regroup again. I mean, Clem's next question is going to be taking a base number 6, right? Like, we are getting to the point 18 minutes in where 5 bases alone doesn't quite cut it. So that's something we do need to start moving towards at some point here. That'll be a question we ask ourselves as the Bioforce comes through. These Mutas jump in, the SCVs get chased away. Bio Army jumping on top of a couple of these Banelings as well right now. That Planetary Fortress is still taking some shots. Widow Mines once more helping out. RagnaroK doesn't have a huge bank. He's not able to instantly remax. I mean, he's got 82 drones. His income is good. Clem losing that top left base is rough. He's going to land an orbital on the right side, but the orbital is always weak because just a handful of Zerglings can, you know, cause utter chaos in amongst an orbital. You know, whereas a planetary would at least force Banelings to be used on that, so that's not good. And if Clem loses any sort of pressure on this right side, that orbital is going to drop down dead, and oh, well, at least it's going to have to lift up in the sky, and the SCVs are going to be dropping down dead. A few Banes just trailing forward, trying to set up a low Widow Mine count, and even just kill off a few of them as Banes are starting to go down. A lot of Marauders here as the Ultras are receiving a transfusion. Widow Mines from the top side, actually going to get burrowed, a couple of them, and they do hit the Mutalisks, but well, the Mutas are still alive here as Clem is kiting backwards. He's still got an army supply lead, but look how hurt his units are. Well, yeah, this orbital just doesn't provide any sort of aid. This is exactly when the orbital would have been fantastic as well. We actually are going to look to get both of these. The Widow Mine saves the Banelings. from connecting on the Bio Army, so Clem gets saved by his Widowmine there, and he will move forward and get those couple of queens that were attacking the bases. He will reland the orbital, desperate to keep his economy churning out anything. 43 SCVs left on the map, and he just doesn't have money to rebuild SCVs either. He sees these Banelings morphing in the center. The Widowmine connects on the Banelings that were stuck there, and only a few will then actually be able to finish morphing as they were not all full HP. Another Widowmine connects, and Clem just has a few Banelings running his way. He's trying to kite backwards. The Muta's doing what they can as Clem runs out of here. He's going to have more Widowmines burrowing up. They're going to connect on Lings, not the Ultra. The Ultra took the splash damage. If it took the main shots, might not have died, but it would have taken damage. The Mutas get the orbital here. Clem loses that, but he gets a bunch of the Mutas for the trade out. And Clem, well, he's got an orbital now to the top side. That's his natural. He can move the main base orbital down this right-hand side. I mean, he dropped a mule to try and repair that base as well. He knew the desperation in that moment. These couple of Mutas turn back onto the medevac. Clem's like, that's not enough Mutas to stop me, mate, and I'm just going to boost past you, and, well, I know where your mineral line is, so, yeah, burrow up, and it's going to be difficult to clear with these Widow Mines. Going to be annoying at the very least. We're going to unload one more, we're going to unload the other, and actually is going to get both the Mutas. No, he gets one of the Mutas. I mean, that alone is pretty good right now. Bio Army on the left-hand side. This Widow Mine gets burrowed up. What does it connect onto? Just a drone. Suddenly 10 drones are dead, and suddenly RagnaroK doesn't have any Banelings or anything, and he's taking some serious damage. There are some Banes, but Clem's going to drop to the main, kills a hatchery left-hand side. I mean, because he's killing some of the economy of RagnaroK barely has any cash left over, as Clem trying to draw himself out of trouble here. He kills off these Banelings, he's going to kill a macro hatchery. Maybe the Hive. I mean, the Hive doesn't really matter, because RagnaroK's tech has not exactly been Hive-focused at all this game, just the Ultras. And obviously, unless you kill the Ultra Cap, and that will continue. Widowmine's just here and there, killing off more and more of these units. The two Mutilas trying to chase in. We're trying to rebuild some Mutas as well. There's some SCVs running into Ling's top side. There's not a lot of Lings there. These Widowmines just need to burrow Clem. He gets burrowed in the end. Another one walks over. What's happening, Clem? What's going on here? Potential for huge Widowmine connections as well, because RagnaroK's getting all caught up. And, I mean, that's just the stress of this game, getting to these players, both playing a little bit sloppy and making some mistakes. It's getting kind of wild out here right now. It is getting kind of wild out here right now. Clem still just about hanging in, but I mean, he didn't lose those units. He would have been able to really get a few shots off and a few extra kills, and that might have made the difference. And it has drilling claws on them as well, so if you just press burrow, they burrow up, they don't die. The extra mines might have made the difference there, as Widow Mines are connecting through once again. The top side base looks like it'll go down. Clem's going to lose his economy up there, which is a lot of his economy as well. Those Widow Mines getting a low count of units. Widow Mine going off on top of the bio. Clem's now on only 19 SCVs. He really is running out. I don't think he's going to have enough, guys. 17 SCVs dead. I mean, he just doesn't have economy anymore. He needs to kill this army of RagnaroK. He's going to get the Ultras, right? As he kites on backwards, he's going to get a couple of the Ultras. RagnaroK doesn't have the money to really rebuild Ultras either. As Clem is just trying to find efficiency here. He's got a Widow Mine in the bottom right that's not being cleaned up as well. That will also be something of a factor. Well, Clem just doesn't have the base to mine from, I think, is the biggest issue. It's not even about the worker count, it's about locations that actually have minerals. There's not a lot of them right now, as Clem's medevac is super low HP here, and that Widow Mine, well, that's going to get unburrowed, reburrowed. He's actually going to save them, get out of there. I mean, clutch little plays. He's actually going to get the Mutas. Oh my god, he gets 2 Mutas for it. I mean, in a game like this, anything and everything counts. I think Clem's just lost a little bit too much control of the game, though. He's going to need some really crazy Widow Mine shots right now. I mean, what's the Baneling count out? It's only a handful of Banes, right? And I believe only one Ultra remains. We're going to try and move to the top left again here. As Clem needs to unburrow and reburrow these Widow Mines. He might just let the Widow Mines kind of go off while lifting his units. Now all the mines die, and Clem just really cannot afford anything else. GG from Clem. He just has nothing left at all, and RagnaroK is going to get the first map here. Well, welcome, my friends, to what could be the last map for Liquid once again, as in the bottom right, AlphaX's RagnaroK looks to win this and send them through to the top 4. Top left, Team Liquid's Clem looks to try and force the ultimate ace. As we get this up and running. Well, Curious Minds, small map. Would imagine Clem is probably going to have to go something along the lines of some Banshees here just to keep safe initially. I kind of wonder, actually, a lot of what's going to happen here. This is kind of an interesting question. I mean, RagnaroK kind of got overrun on this map earlier. But I tell you what, okay, here's my better question. Clem seems to be struggling in a lot of these kind of drawn-out, scrappier TvZs. Like, it seems like he can get the Zerg on the run, but he just can't quite... Maybe not even on the run, but he can survive and survive, but he just can't get in those positions to end it if he just loses a bit of mid-game momentum. I wonder what he needs to switch. I mean, I think it is just he can't control the game as much in the mid-game as he used to be able to, and I think that's what's really changed for him. Alright. Well, let me get this going. Watch map was vetoed. Liquid vetoed Pride of Altaris, and AlphaX vetoed Berlingrad, so... I don't think Clem minds. I think he likes playing Curious Minds a lot of the time. It's obviously another of the Terra maps. You're probably expecting from Clem a Curious Minds or a Berlingrad. Blackburn. Some players obviously like Blackburn. I think Clem, to me, more like the Curious Minds. I mean, Clem loves those aggressive non-stop pushes. That's something that's very easy to get set up and just keep on having when it comes to the Curious Minds because of the size of the map. And that's why maybe RagnaroK needs to look at doing something early here to get that, you know, to not let Clem get into that position in the first place. Second rack's coming up, so Clem already looking for some initial aggression here as we get this up and running. Armory dropping down. And he's actually going to go Hellbats with a second Rax. Wow. Well, things on the way up from RagnaroK. It's actually quite an early set of links, so what he's looking for is he's looking to try and punish the fact that Clem didn't go Hellions early. That and obviously cleaning up this group of Marines, but especially if there's no Hellions behind this, then this set of early lings can do a lot on the counterattack, etc. Looks like they are going to counterattack, but what about actually defending him, buddy? There's a lot of Marines here, a couple of Hellions, and like I say, Hellbats, so you might need those units. We'll see what Clem has back at home defensively to deal with this. We'll see how he does over there, as these couple of Hellbats need to get in the front and do the tanking. Clem is not being attacked by those units yet. Now you will see them as his next Hellions run across the map. They run by the group of units there from RagnaroK. As things come in, Clem is going to be in some trouble. SCVs are going to jump on the natural. Oh, things are going to jump on the natural SCVs, and now Clem, you can see his face. He realizes this isn't looking good. How come you had units so early, huh? Oh, SCVs continue to drop. RagnaroK is already just defending this. This has gone very wrong very quickly. RagnaroK's choice to build super early lings is absolutely paying off. Hellions are going to try and clean up here, but it comes at a massive SCV cost, and RagnaroK looks as though he's going to get the job done. I mean, this is a huge lead from RagnaroK early in the game. 39 SCV drones to 25 SCVs. Clem takes a lot of damage. This was just not it for Clem at all. A build that gets shut down immediately, and the counterattack just gets so much done right away. Clem trying to mix it up here on Curious Mind, and it just falls apart immediately. As this extra barracks comes down from Clem, he tries to get some drones on the other side. He will find a single drone. Well, it's something at least, right? It is something. Just going to be seeing this extra racks coming through as well, and the feeling is still moving out up to the top side. I'm going to cancel the Balin Nest, go Roach Roaring instead, so RagnaroK preferring to play the Roaches here. The only downside I see to that is the fact he obviously canceled the Bane Nest to go into it, which means he could have had this set up a little bit sooner if he wanted it. Maybe that's slightly concerning as Clem is making his way towards Stim. I don't know if it makes too much of a difference, though. Not sure if it's all that important. Queens will step forward here as well. Tell you what, it was pretty sick from RagnaroK. I know obviously he had to have a revive, but he would have been the reason for all of the Liquid players to have fallen down today. And he really, I mean, honestly, against Mana, I feel like he came back from a couple of lost games. I mean, one of the games against Mana was a complete clown fiesta, but the first one I really feel like he'd lost as well. They become crazy PvZs. Here comes Clem. Hellbats, Marines. 12 roaches in production is more or less going to say goodbye and goodnight to Team Liquid. No, his Marines do have stim. They're not using it yet. Waiting and waiting, but what for? Coming into the bottom side here, going to get a few drones. Clem, he's doing okay. It's just he needs so much out of this. Obviously, as this all gets cleaned up, that's his army. That is his army. I mean, 41, 42 SCVs to 52 drones, and RagnaroK already had more drones in production as he goes straight into the roach speed off the, with the lair in play. I'm only just now starting the third CC, so the late third is obviously going to be a factor here as well. That's actually kind of cool, though, as well. If AlphaX advanced through to play Dragon Phoenix game, and you've got to think of this as well, they are playing, I mean, RagnaroK at least is playing well today. If the Protoss players from AlphaX can step up a little bit, do well. I mean, DPG is a tough team. It's an all-star team. They don't even need to use a revive if they don't want to. Cure, Rogue, Dark, Zest, Hero. Pick any of them. They're all freaking great, right? You can't go wrong. Now, Clem is not down and out yet. I mean, he's struggling along here. Third CC is building. He's getting a single engineering bay, adding a couple of barracks on. I mean, what Clem needs is to basically do a lot of damage with these drops and basically outplay RagnaroK on the multitasking of the drop play versus the roaches, and somehow turn that into something you can then defend with back at home as well. If you can defend a roach attack with the 1-1 upgrades, then he's maybe in the game. If he does some damage, defends the roach attack, then maybe we continue through, but I'm not sure if that's really, I don't know how realistic that could be. Marines drop down on the watchtower. I'm just going to hang out here as a few roaches move through. The Marines are here. They're going to go in after those roaches, and, well, Marines just load into those medevacs nice and quickly. This is the problem. He's just not finding anything. You can see RagnaroK 3-base saturation is achieved. 67 drones. He's just going to go straight into the Roach Ravager Ling. His upgrades are finishing shortly. There's no reason for him not to be aggressive here. With the opening that Clem has had, the best choice for RagnaroK is to just get aggressive as quickly as he can, get in Clem's face, and see if he can bust on through. 40 supply lead. Of course, he is working on the roaches. They're typically always going to have a supply lead. But there's no preparation here from Clem. There's no bunkers or anything. There's no bunkers. There are tanks. These tanks need to be careful. They need to get sieged up somewhere, as RagnaroK is ready for the attack right now. Clem isn't even fully sieged. I mean, the Ravagers are quite far away from the tanks, so the Corrosive Files will not go on those at all, and those tanks will do a lot on the top side. Now the Ravagers are in range for their Corrosive Files. 1, 2, and 3 on that second siege tank. Clem will try and make a final hold here, but it's just not going to be enough. And RagnaroK is going to continue his way through this army. SCVs have already died. Clem is doing anything and everything he can, but it's just not enough. Team Liquid made it to day 2 of the playoffs, but they will go no further. AlphaX have RagnaroK to thank, who shows up today. RagnaroK, who comes off the back of a really good TSL, of course, at the end of last year, was looking very good there. This might be the best RagnaroK we have seen in quite some time. This is a real possibility that he is just out here playing his best StarCraft. I mean, today he has been an absolute monster, of course. Clem is hurting guys, obviously. RagnaroK has got the third base lifted. He's not going to go running up the ramp into the natural. He's not crazy. He'll play a little bit cautiously, but he's got this just fine. He's going to keep the third base from relanding. This series is done. Clem will be knocked down. And it's going to be the AlphaX squad to try and take on Dragon Phoenix Gaming and try to infiltrate that final day of the World Team League playoffs, which is, of course, tomorrow. Shopify Rebellion waiting in the semifinals. Team NV in the grand finals after their regular season performances. Clem scans the fourth base. He's hoping there's no drones. He's hoping that somehow RagnaroK was more all-in than possible, basically. You can see the realization on his face as this orbital has to lift up, back away. And yeah, this does look, guys, as though we really do have ourselves this wrap up. Waiting for the final. I know, guys. I'm trying to keep talking, but I mean, there's nothing exciting to tell you. I wish I could tell you guys it was more exciting than it is right now, but it's not really the case. I mean, Clem really honestly did great against the Protoss players. He gave us some very exciting games. I mean, that first game here against RagnaroK was stunning. Surviving against the mass lane being muta. I tell you what, I didn't expect RagnaroK to get the 2-0, but of course, I feel like Clem really shot himself in the foot. He's got a good map. I don't feel like he has to do anything too crazy, and he just goes for one of these pushes. I mean, I don't mind if you're doing that on Curious Minds in like the best of 5 in this map 1 or 2, but why are we doing like a Marine Hellbat super early push that can die to like a little link counter and so on when it's your last life, it's your last chance, it's this map or die trying? To me, that is... I don't get that, right? Like, to me, that's a mistake from Clem's build decision. I don't hate the build. I think the build can be fine. It's just, with the situation that you're in, you don't have room for error, and it just puts a lot more on the build than it does on everything else in the game. The Banelings come rolling through. They're aiming for these Marines. The Marines kite back, and they do okay on the defense. RagnaroK does have road traffic to continue through. Obviously, there's just not enough SCVs to keep Clem alive in this. As the road traffic continues to do very well. And it is looking as though we have got ourselves a GG on the board. RagnaroK again send AlphaX through to the round of 4. The top 4, however we want to say it. However we want to say it. Clem's still not dead, but I mean, he is dead. We're just waiting for the official confirmation from Clem himself to agree that he is dead. Just waiting on that one, and yeah, chilling, guys, chilling, waiting. I honestly, I mean, there's what else can you say? What more do you want me to do? This game is so over. There's nothing else to add. Please, RagnaroK, finish him for Wardy's sanity. Finish him. Obviously, Clem has all the rights in the world to stay in the game as long as he can. It would be a hell of a miraculous comeback to turn this one around. It really would be. It would be absolutely ridiculous to turn this one around, in fact. SCV's going down. Lingbane, Roach Ravager coming through. It's just going to be seeing our Ultraless Cavern dropping down in the back of the main base. Well, Viper's showing up. RagnaroK has continued to tech up. He's getting Adrenal Glands. He's getting the Ultraless Cavern. Just going to dive through for these siege tanks, and just going to be seeing the Banelings making their way forward as well. Roach Ravager pressing on through. Lightning Cloud up on the high ground there, and just going to be seeing Clem. I mean, again, he's got some units still, yes, but he's also still not... he's honestly doing pretty good, all things considered. I mean, he's actually going to do as much as he can to try and clean this out, and RagnaroK will once again be turned away and will not quite finish the game. Those Marines continue to chase everything out across the sides. Clem survives once more. But for how much longer? I feel like I've asked that question enough times. He's just got so many medevacs. These medevacs just keep on bringing everything out, keeping everything alive. GG and good luck next says RagnaroK gets it. Oh, the all kill! Because he killed everyone. He did. He had to be revived, but he killed everybody. He was the only player to win maps for AlphaX in this. We have an all kill graphic. And RagnaroK gets it. Oh no, Liquid. Lights out. The 7th seed makes top 5. That's as far